Folks, for some sellers, time is the enemy. I'll get into that and then the latest home prices and insights for the city of Toronto for week ending April 16th, 2025. We were working with a seller. We were selling their property. It was up for sale. Over some time, we received some offers. None were accepted. On some, we just turned down outright. On others, we negotiated back and forth, never reached an agreement. But we did receive an offer in this situation that actually the number and the whole offer fit right into what the seller wanted. Our client was the seller. So the offer came in really where our expectations were. The seller and I were on the same page as per the expectations. The shadows fit in, closing date was good. The offer seemed like it made total sense. And when my seller read it through and I explained to him the whole offer, they also agreed, okay, this is kind of very reasonable where we expect it to be, unlike the other offers we received. There was just one problem with this offer, and that was we received the offer at 8 p.m. By 8:30, I'm discussing it with my client, but the offer expired at 10 p.m. So the buyers sent us an offer with a 2-hour irrevocability, meaning in 2 hours at 10 p.m., this offer was going to expire. It'd be dead, no more offer on the table. So I explained this to my client that if this is something you feel good about, then we need to decide what we're going to do as far as acceptance goes before 10 p.m. That bugged my client, the seller. That didn't sit well with the seller. Their attitude was, well, Santo, we feel good about everything, but we don't feel good about being rushed. I said, I understand. I'm not sure why the buyer is looking to put that kind of pressure on the situation, but do you have enough time to make up your mind whether this is something, this offer you want to proceed with, or we want to counter offer, or, what do you want to do? And the seller's attitude was, we like the offer, but we don't want to be pressured. We're going to sleep on it. And I explained, I understand. At 10 o'clock, this offer expires. So if you want to sleep on it, it's your prerogative. However, when you wake up in the morning, there'll be no more offer on the table. And they said, well, can we accept it then? I said, no, it expires at 10 o'clock. If you, in the morning, want to move forward with this offer, in a sense, we'd have to change the irrevocable time when the offer expires. In other words, put it back put the date and time so it's no longer expired, initial that, but we can't accept the offer. We have to send that back to the buyer side and they need to accept that offer. In a sense, it's basically no longer an offer from the buyer. It's our side, the seller, sending an offer now to the buyer. And I explained this to the seller and they understood, and they were still adamant that they didn't want to be pressured and they wanted to sleep on it. The next morning we spoke and they said, okay, Santo, we're ready to accept this offer. What do we do? And I re-explained, well, we're going to have to change the date, the irrevocable time. This time it's irrevocable from our side, the seller side, and we'll send it back. You're going to initial the changes and we'll send it back. And the attitude is that they accepted this. Now, I explained this to the buyer's agent that evening that my clients didn't want to feel pressured. I actually tried to ask them if they could extend the irrevocable time to the morning so it was still valid when my clients woke up. The buyer's side just didn't want to do that. So this is the way it went down. This is the way it happened, that the next morning we sent them their offer back with a new irrevocable time, hoping they would accept it. And, we have a transaction in place. I sent in the offer to the buyer side. I called the agent. no answer. I'm texting the agent, no answer. Couple hours went by and the agent finally responded to one of my messages and called me actually and said, Santo, this morning we went out looking at other properties. There was another listing in the neighborhood and my client seems to like that other house better. So we're going to put in an offer on that house, see what happens before we circle back to your house. If we can't get the other house, we'll see what happens with your house. So all that time that my client wanted to sleep on it, and it's their prerogative if they want to sleep on it and take their time with that, the buyers are looking now at other properties. And this wasn't another property that has been sitting there and the buyers changed their mind towards another house. This was a new listing that came on the market. The next morning it was, there's a new listing there. That dynamic, that relationship between how much time the irrevocable is has really changed. Sellers in the past preferred a long irrevocable time because the sellers thought if we receive an offer, the longer we can hold on to it, the more opportunities for other buyers to put in offers, and I could find myself having 2 or 3 buyers competing for my property. And it really was that dynamic for a while. It happened often where you put an offer in, and this is where buyers often in the past wanted a very short irrevocable because they didn't want to give opportunities to other buyers to put in offers, and sellers preferred the long. That relationship, that dynamic, we'll call it, has changed. Today, it kind of works in the reverse. Sellers that prefer a long irrevocable, buyers are actually seeing other properties coming onto the market competing with that property they just put in an offer. It's not necessarily in the buyer's best interest to have a long irrevocable. It's not, it never used to be, but it may be today because that dynamic has changed. Sellers, the more time you take to think about what you're going to do with that offer, the opportunity, the circumstances that another property will come on the market competing with your home that maybe might catch the eye of that buyer trying to buy yours, it's a very real possibility today. It never used to be, but it's a very real possibility today. You just got to be careful. There is strategy in that irrevocable time. It's not, you put in an offer, it's not just the price. All the elements of the offer, there's a strategy to it. And the dynamics have changed, and you got to be prepared to change with how the market is looking at things. These days, if the buyer has more time, other properties seem to be coming onto the market. You're seeing them. And if other properties are not coming onto the market, chances are there are properties for sale in your neighborhood. Maybe one of them is going to reduce the price. It makes your home not as desirable anymore if one of the other properties reduces their price. So all these things are happening at the same time. So my comment here at the end is, sellers, be careful. I understand principle. Maybe you don't want to be rushed. But if the number and the offer makes sense, think twice about spending too much time to think about it. Lock that buyer in when you can, because you may not get another buyer willing to give you what you want for a while. It may never happen again. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Below this video in the description, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, or you can go directly to tsre.ca. That takes you right to my calendar. Book a date and time that suits you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. Folks, if you're looking for an awesome 3-bedroom semi-detached property in Corso Italia area, check out the link on the screen at the end of the show. And you know we're sporting Toronto Maple Leafs. What an awesome first game. Tonight is game 2. Get excited about that. Here we go. This show is all about the city of Toronto. Our focus is on the freehold market, detached semis and towns. These are average sold prices for 3 months. I do have condos here. We're not talking about condos. That's tomorrow's show, but it is here for reference. The difference between the average condo price and the average detached price, $919,000. Last week, I think it was over $1 million. It's normally hovering between $800,000 to $1 million or so difference between average condo price and average detached price. We're going to start off with detached for week ending April 16th. 167 detached properties were sold. 39 of those were sold at $2 million or more. Overall, kind of looks like sales are trending upwards, which is really what we expect. We just haven't seen a whole lot of that. But sales are overall trending upwards. Average sold price was trending upwards, but I think over the last month and a half, it's kind of flat. It's up and down. I'm averaging it out. Looks kind of flat to me, but we're going to look at a 4-week moving average in one of our charts coming up. But let me break it down. The overall average for detached properties only is $1,630,000. 3-bedroom homes. Now this is any combination of a 3-bedroom. So 3 bedrooms plus 1 or 2 or 3 bedrooms in a basement. As long as it's 3 bedrooms above grade and it's detached, the average price is $1,339,000. A 4-bedroom home in the city of Toronto, the average price is $2,049,000. The difference between average 3-bedroom price and average 4-bedroom price is $710,000. That's a big gap, big difference between the two. So $1,630,000 is 12% lower than where the price was this time a year ago. The median price of $1,385,000 is 9% lower than where we were this time a year ago. The dotted line, that's a 4-week moving average. I've got 3 months on the board here, and if you kind of go back, average price and median price were trending up. But over the last month and a half, both medium and average price kind of flat, right? 167 were sold. 72 of those, so 43% sold at list price or more. Listings, well, active listings trending up, man. We've got 2,336 detached properties available for sale. 2,336, 167 sold. So not a lot are actually selling based on the volume available for sale. Months of inventory seem to be trending down slowly, softly, or however, the slope down is not so steep. So we're at 3.2 months of inventory now. That's the whole city. When we break down the city of Toronto into 9 sections, I want to point to 2 sections that seem to be a little bit more aggressive. East York, Riverdale Beaches, 1.7 months of inventory. It's been like that for 2 weeks in a row now. It's very aggressive. 22 detached properties were sold. 64% of those sold at list price or more. And Etobicoke, 2 months of inventory, 43% sold at list price or more. 37 detached properties were sold in Etobicoke. I believe That's second highest sales as far as the neighborhood goes. Scarborough, where there was 43 sales of detached properties. So depending on where you are, I mean, we're averaging out the whole city, but you're going to experience different markets in different parts of the city. Here's City of Toronto semi-detached properties for week ending April 16, 57 sold. Out of the previous 4 weeks, 3 weeks is dead on 57 sales. So sales are not really changing that much for semi-detached properties. 14 of those have sold at $1.5 million or more. Average sold price is $1,315,000. We could say prices are kind of flat over the last month or two. It's tough to say because they are kind of going up and down. But when we look at the dotted line, the 4-week moving average, and that's why we show different charts to show a different angle, and maybe it's easier to spot a trend sometimes with the 4-week moving average. Well, if we look at the average price, it's 2% higher than where we were this time a year ago. The median price is 5% lower, but the dotted line, the 4-week moving average, shows that average price and median price overall over the last 3 months are trending upwards. Months of inventory for semi-detached properties sitting at 1.8, and 65% of the semis sold at list price or more. Townhouses, these are freehold townhouses. Not a lot of sales going on, only 16 freehold townhouses sold, about a third. 5 of those sold at $1.5 million or more. Average sold price, man, it's up and down. They should build a roller coaster out of the freehold townhouse chart here. We're sitting at $1,272,000 for this week. Compared to last year, 1,272 is 5% higher. The median price of 1,305 is 14% higher. Months of inventory starting to climb. We're now at 3.2 months of inventory. Here's a quick summary. In some neighborhoods, you will see a balanced market. In other neighborhoods, I've showed you on my map of the city, it's a little bit leaning more towards sellers. It's not an aggressive seller's market like days gone, but I put a star here between balance and sellers. It depends on the house, depends on the neighborhood, depends on the house, depends on the price point. There's properties, lots of attention, selling fast with multiple offers. And in the same neighborhood, there's other properties sitting there that seems sellers are going past to go and get that other one that everybody wants to buy. Now, check out the awesome semi we have for sale. The link will be on the screen. And go Leafs go. Have an awesome day.